You're listening to episode 198 of the D6 podcast.
I don't know anything more important in our society or in the kingdom of God than to help the church, help the family.
Discipleship is not an event, it's a way of life.
And one day it just hit me that discipleship at home was not about doing more. It was about inviting Christ into what we were already doing.
The goal of family ministry is not families sitting on the couch holding hands and singing Kumbaya. The ultimate goal is families that love God, love people, and make disciples of all peoples.
So that's why you're here. You're here to say 1 hour a week, as significant and as awesome as it is, we know that it's not enough, and we want to be intentional with every hour.
You're listening to the D6 podcast. Here's your hosts, Ron Hunter and Jeremy Lee.
This is the family ministry podcast that helps you connect the church and home. How are we doing today, Ron?
I'm doing well, Jeremy. How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
That was a little bit. Sometimes when I do that intro, I like have to fight, wannabe radio guy. So I was sorry. That was a little bit like, how are you today, Ron?
And I'm often over here playing air guitar while Jeremy's launching into this. Not that I can play anything, but I can play air guitar. As long as nobody's thinking what the real guitar is supposed to sound like.
True. Listen,
Yeah.
Today's guest is Lena Wooten. She's been with us before. She's a member of your team. She is heads the marketing efforts that you guys do.
Yes. And, marketing people, I always tell, in our organization, we're a Christian publisher. I always tell the marketing person and our theological editor, I said, the marketing person's supposed to stretch the boundaries, and our theological editor is supposed to pull them back. And so there's that tension in there, so that if all we had was theology and it wasn't done creatively, not that we stretch theological boundaries, but you've got to be able to present it in fun, encouraging, exciting ways. I mean, that's part of that teaching aspect, that do it in a fun, wonderful way. I mean, if we didn't have creativity, where would we be?
True, and that is one of the questions I wanted to start with today, because definitely Lena would be an example of that creative person, and it really is God wires us these ways. So like you have your systems-based, detail-oriented, task, and I love those people.
Yes,
because I is not one. And then you have your creative, artistic, and they generally aren't as good at managing what exists, but they are awesome at asking that question, what if?
That's right.
And if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have innovation, and innovation is so crucial. So I thought it would be a fun, and actually I didn't think, you actually suggest this, and I love this exercise. Let's list some of our favorite creative people before we roll to Lena's interview.
That's right. So audience, we want you to participate with this. We want you to go through creative people that you think of when you think about the most creative people. Now, they could be in your circle of influence, but they could also be people you've never met. And Jeremy, you and I have not compared lists, but I was watching you write down, and I could be wrong, but I think I saw a W-A on one of your names. I'm like, yeah, we have some overlap here.
All right.
So go ahead.
So, yes, Wally is – I'm just kidding. But yeah, how about we ping-pong go
Yeah,
back
you
and
got
forth?
it. You got it.
No, you go first, though.
Well,
go ahead and take it, man. You can have
okay.
it.
Yeah, I wrote down Walt Disney.
Yes.
I think we've all seen the backstory of Walt and that creation, and how I'll never forget the term Imagineering. That's one of my favorite terms, Imagineering. One, it combines the imagination with the detail engineering of getting a vision accomplished, and that's a Walt word, and I love it.
Other thing I love about Walt Disney, as you study his story, if you haven't, I've read some of the biography material on him, and he just had so many hard things come against him. People tried to steal his employees. He always had to go seek funding.
That's right.
And the thing I try to channel from him in my own life as I do entrepreneurial endeavors or try to create something from nothing is his fearlessness. He just kind of stayed focused on what he was dreaming about and wouldn't let anything. He just kind of didn't care if he lost everything in order to create something.
That's right. And he's one of those people you talked about that's not a detailed person. So thankfully, he surrounded himself with people like his brother and other people who watched his details, watched his contracts, and those areas for him.
And without that, he would have gone to nothing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Who's another one on your list then?
Well,
that we overlapped him, correct? That we both had
totally
him.
overlapped him. So yeah, and we may overlap this one. I don't know. Steve Jobs is one of mine.
Oh, I should have put Steve on there. He is not. I don't know why he didn't make my list. Out of sight, out of mind. He's been gone for a little while. I am a big Steve Jobs fan and love the fact that he would walk around with that block of wood in his pocket when he was originally deciding how big the phone should be. He literally would pull it out and tap on this block of wood and go, would people actually do? And he did this for like 2 days before he settled on. But he intuitively knew what people wanted rather than taking polls over what people wanted.
And here is a huge distinction I want to make with him is I'm not talking about him as a human being because as I've dove into his life, he sacrificed being a good human in order to make beautiful things.
Yes.
Which I would not want to emulate personally.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
But at the end of the day, when you're just talking about creativity, we're talking about someone who is able to create something in his mind, and it was as if it was real, and he got so committed to what didn't yet exist, but for him, he was able to make it exist in his mind and disregard, in fact, pure hatred for what currently exists in order to create the next thing.
That's right.
And
That's
didn't care whether
exactly
people liked him or not in the process.
Certainly.
Don't know if I'm not sure about that one, but I just watched that movie the other day.
Did you?
Rewatched it? It came up, so he's fresh on my mind. Steve Jobs.
That makes sense, and I'm embarrassed he's not on mine. Somebody I have on mine that you may is Seth Godin.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a great one.
So one of the guys I love reading about. One of the books that he wrote early on that stands out in my mind is The Purple Cow. But he's written so many. I mean, he's a marketing genius. He's the one that causes you to think about your product, your services, your organization through a different perspective. What makes it unique? How to create your tribe. He talks about tribes. So,
Huge.
Yeah, just brilliant guy.
And brilliant, and this is an example of someone who I wouldn't say he's creative practically. He's creative philosophically.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is I have applied Purple Cow and tribes and those things, but he doesn't really get down into the details of how you do it. He just he's creative with the big idea, which I think makes him uniquely creative.
It is. Yep.
So that's a great one. Good job on that one.
What you got?
I've got to put Elon Musk next.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in our modern day, he's the modern day Walt Disney.
He is. My son would agree. My son's an engineer, and he just loves reading after what he's doing, how he's thinking. And my son tells me about things he's doing that the average public doesn't even know. The average person in the public doesn't even know. And he's tracking. What's been the one thing that he's done that stands out above and beyond to you?
I just think, you might assume I would say the space stuff, but it's more of the transportation, what he's trying to do with light rails and but I guess for me, just in general, he is. In today's world, I don't know that we have a ton of Walt Disney-esque figures beyond him. And I think that, like Walt Disney, I don't know that he will be properly appreciated until way, way down the road when we look back and realize that a lot of we're living in the Jetsons TV show, and a lot of that was due to Elon Musk's willing to say, why... Because I think his whole idea is, why aren't we living in the Jetsons TV show? We should have done all this by now, and he's trying to push it forward, and he's succeeding on a lot of fronts.
I've never thought about it that way, Jeremy, but you're right. Probably 10 or 15 years ago, there was this big news story of how many inventions do we have today that came from NASA back in the 60s and 70s, everything from wireless communication to, heart monitors and Velcro and all this other stuff. And I've never thought about it, but I think Elon Musk, there's going to be stories written 20, 30 years from now going, here's what we have because he thought about things differently.
And I think for the last few decades, we have been obsessed with the internet and the innovation that has brought. Elon Musk has innovated outside of the internet in areas of transportation and energy. And he's like, y'all keep being infatuated by the internet. I'm going to do amazing stuff outside of that. So that's been kind of cool.
I teach a class at DBU, Dallas Baptist, Vision Casting Leading Change, and our students are required to pick an innovator, a disruptor, and write about the disruption and the leader. And oftentimes Elon is one of the top people. I've now decided sitting here, I need to bring you on and interview you online in front of the class, because you're hitting some things about him I'd love for them to get in your brain, and you teach the students on
Oh my
that.
gosh, yeah.
So this is good. I mean, this is just a whole different paradigm on Elon and I've read a lot of papers on him.
I hope nobody in that class actually knows me. They'll start laughing.
No, definitely not.
All right, so it's your turn.
Oh, okay, it's my turn. Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh, great one.
So, I mean,
yes.
he's a writer and a reporter, and, while he's known for so many incredible books, one of my favorite books, I mean, he's known for Outliers, he's known for Tipping Point, but my favorite book, every time somebody says, I love Malcolm Gladwell, I always look at him and say, have you read What the Dog Saw? And they're like,
I have
no.
not, yeah.
And I'm like, that's his most brilliant book. And it's just, what he's done is he's taken all these New Yorker articles that he's written through the years, and he's woven them together with beautiful segues out of one into the other.
Wow.
Like, why do we have, 200 types of mustard and only one ketchup? That's the title of one of them. He talks about hair color. He talks about weapons of mass destruction and compares those to mammograms.
Wow.
I mean, his creativity, in academic terms, it's called convergence and divergence. He has the ability to converge two totally different ideas and brilliantly weave them together, and you go, that makes sense. And
I love
so,
that.
yeah, anyway, so Malcolm Gladwell's one of mine. How about you?
That was inspiring. That's gonna. You just got Malcolm a book sale. Good
I think
job.
so, yeah. What the Dog Saw has probably been ordered 1,000 times right now.
So, okay, I'm going to go. You know, I love sports.
Yep.
And so I was thinking, who would I say is the most creative athlete? And I'm going with Pistol Pete.
Really?
Even though he was kind of before my day,
Yeah.
I can kind of look back. One of the things I appreciate about Pistol Pete is in a day where basketball was divided racially.
Yeah.
And there was a certain style that African American players did, and there was a certain style that white players did, and there was a division. Pistol Pete kind of came in and took that African American style, put his own spin in it, and was told over and over that the behind the back passes and the flair that you're bringing is only hurting the game, and had older adult coaches try to stop him, and he just made a decision that he was going to do him, and he was going to do what was in his heart. And I just have always appreciated that about him.
That is cool.
In the face of people telling him you can't do that, he said, "Oh, I will." And he really was one of the first to influence that change, because he was a member of the he was a white kid bringing in a style that wasn't accepted, and he was one of the ones that helped bring it into acceptance. So that was kind of cool.
That is cool. I've just learned a lot. That's
You don't know much about Pistol Pete?
No, I do
There's
not.
a movie
I
you
do
should
not.
check
I've
out.
heard.
The movie.
I knew his name, but that's about the links of it.
There
so
you go.
I love learning.
Pete Maravich.
Yeah,
Google
gotcha.
that guy.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Well, the next one on my list is a person who is also a writer, and I view him as super creative. Every time I'm around this person, he sees things totally different, and that is John Forrest. John Forrest.
My man John, you
yes,
made the list. You made
he is
the
on.
list.
He is on my list. This guy can make the most hardened heart who just can't laugh at anything. He can cause them to roll in the floor, and yet at the same time, John can just give you insight after making you roll in the floor and bring your heart back closer to God. And that's what I love about John. And, for those of you who have been to a D6 conference or read Help My Game Stink or Fight, or, you see his creativity and you see his seriousness at the same time. So, John, you made my list, my friend.
Way to go, John! If you're listening, man, that's huge. And look, we do have to get to another creative lady, but I'll give my last one. I have one last one, and mine, ironically enough, is ministry based too. I tried to think who.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know much about this guy. Do you know Mike Yaconelli?
I do. I do.
Like, did you actually know him?
I
'Cause
did
you
not
might.
know him.
Okay.
No, I know the legend of of what he's done, and I know some of his friends that have survived him, and they've talked about him. So I never met him, and I wasn't in the youth world at that point. So,
Well, I'll
tell
tell
me
you,
about him. Tell
as
me
a
about
former
him.
youth
Yeah.
minister, he was kind of a hero to me, and we didn't agree on everything. He was
Yeah.
a wild guy in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, but that was what I loved, is in a straight-laced ministry setting, outside of denominational and theological discussions, just in practice.
Yeah.
As a youth minister, he just was willing to say things that I had never heard before, and he had his creativity was brave.
Yeah.
One of my favorite small little books that I don't even know is around anymore he called it "Getting Fired for the Glory of God." And he just talked regularly and honestly about, hey, as youth ministers, we actually want holes in the wall and stains in the carpet.
Yeah.
Because that means that we are engaging kids on a level that's relational and fun, and that's going to open a pathway to God.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody needs to just be reminded of that today. I'm not telling you to get fired for the glory of God.
No,
that was
but-
Mike's thing, but that to be courageously creative is something to consider.
That's cool. Well,
All right.
last on my list is Lena Wooten. And
Lena
I
Wooten.
could talk a lot about Lena, but we're about to interview her. She is our marketing director at Randall House, and she has the ability to see products, not for products, but for solutions in people's lives, and shows how to connect those dots. So, Jeremy, tell us what Lena and you talked about as we jump into this interview.
We talked about a lot of things, but I'll kind of tease with this one because exactly what you said. I talked to Lena about the fact that she manages so many projects all at once, and at the same time she is crafting messages in a noisy world that she needs people to hear. And all of us can relate to that. And she is a qualified expert in that area. So she had a lot of great things to say. Hope you guys enjoyed Lena's interview. She'll be with us right after the break. We'll be talking to Lena Wooten. All right, so we are here with Lena Wooten.
Yes, I love when you do that.
Well, because in my opinion, you're the hype lady of D6, right? So
Yes.
woot.
Yeah, woot woot, the hype woman. I'm the Leslie Knope of D6 family. Okay, so I have to tell you
You're going to
this.
have to explain this.
John Forrest.
Yes.
So most listeners know John Forrest.
Yes.
Funny guy, right? So he comes by the office a few months ago, and I had just started watching Parks and Rec, season 1, and he says, Lena, you remind me of Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, I'm kind of offended. I don't know if I really like that. And so then I get to season 3, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm totally Leslie Knope. That's awesome.
You're embracing your inner Parks and Rec.
Yes. So.
Well, hey, guys, our guest today is Lena. She's been leading in children and family ministry for 18 years. You guys, though, have seen and probably heard of her in the D6 world because she runs the marketing team. Her and her husband, Josh, serve together. They've been married for a good long time, and they have 2 incredible children.
Yeah.
One of them's a great musician.
Yes, correct.
One of them has just entered college.
Yep.
So you've got a lot going on as a mom, don't you?
Yeah, we're in the phase 2 of life. We've got a young adult and a teenage boy. So
I think one of the things you and I had a cool conversation about being intentional as a parent with our kids' gifts.
Yes.
And you were telling me that you have been so intentional this year with your son and his music.
Yeah.
You guys have built a studio. Tell us about that.
Yeah,
real quick.
okay, sure. So our son, at about the age of 13, we brought a piano in our home, and he began to sit down and start playing it, just kind of taking up with it and stuff. And by the time he was 14, he had written his first song, and he put it out on SoundCloud. So SoundCloud is something that anybody can upload tunes to. And so within a matter of weeks, it started to get in thousands of listens and thousands and thousands. And he saw, wow, I really enjoy songwriting. He's a creative kid. And so he began to pursue songwriting and being an artist and playing the piano every morning and night. And so my husband and I saw that gift in him, and we yeah, ended up, we actually sold our family camper. We love to go camping, but we sold our camper and invested in some studio equipment for him because we saw this is his dream, and he's got a God-given talent. And so, yeah, he's going to be signing a record deal soon.
What? I didn't know this.
Yeah, he is. He's going to be signing a record deal, so we're excited about that.
And you're using your marketing skills probably to help him get his, because I mean, the stuff I see is so good.
Yeah, and so my husband's got tons of talents, but one of the things he does is graphics and websites and stuff. And so combined with that and then my marketing, we're like, hey, Ryman, you should, do this and do this. And so we've coached him along the way, but we've also told him if any point you feel like that this is not a dream for you, then let's just stop, and that's okay.
Yeah, there's got to be a tension. Let's talk about that tension for a second of you recognize this is something your kid's enjoying, they're good at, but you want to help, but you don't want to take over. And how did you guys manage that? How did you? What was the communication like with him?
Yeah, so in our home we always put God first. We're constantly like, seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and everything else will fall into place. So we constantly are talking to Ryman about focusing on God first. We kind of make that the priority. But then as far as his music stuff goes, we're just letting him kind of go at his pace and really have creativity. We try to make it fun for him. He'll spend his whole adult life working and, having to do all those things. So as a family, we try to make that fun for him. My husband will sit down and write songs with him and play music with him and play guitar. My whole house is turning into a music studio. In fact, my whole upstairs, we have a drum kit, and we've got pianos, and we've got guitars, and we have everything. So
and there's something really transferable in what we're talking about, because you guys are being strategic and intentional, and you're not just letting Ryman just have a gift and just try himself to develop it. You're getting engaged in it without being controlling and manipulating.
That's right.
Wow. I think as ministers, that's something we can teach parents.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just kind of fanning his flame. We see, again, he's got this God-given talent. Ryman, you're super creative, and you've got the ability to play these instruments. And we just we pour into him, we feed into him. We also keep him humble. So we talk a lot about humility. It's real easy in the social media world as a teenager to put your stuff out there and get all this interaction from quote fans. And so we talk about being humble as well. So this is quite the journey that we're on. If you are listening, you're welcome to pray for us.
You're welcome to pray for us.
You're welcome to pray for us.
And we don't have time, but you've dropped a daughter off at college, and I'm sure there's all kinds of insights.
She's studying abroad in Costa Rica.
Oh my
right
goodness.
now, and so she's almost 20 years old, and she actually messaged me just a few days ago and said, Mom, I think I want to minor in ministry as a vocation.
Oh, man.
And
how did that feel?
Since my children Hannah was 6 months old when we started in family ministry and in children's ministry. She was 6 months old. And my husband and I said then, we're going to do this as a family. So every camp we ever planned, every game night, everything we ever did for our church, we involved our children with. We would let Hannah stand up and announce what the games were, or if we were putting teams together, we let our children speak into that, to the theme, to everything. So we really try to do things as a family and realize, we have them under our roof for 18 years if we're lucky. And and they might come back home, and I'd be okay with that. But so we just try to make the most of those times and do it as a family.
So you guys have been listening to Lena Wooten, head of the marketing department here at D6. And after this next break, I want to talk to you about the new, cool, exciting stuff, because you guys got a lot of good stuff, right?
We do.
And there's some stuff that our listeners may not know about. And so there's great resources coming. We're going to be talking about that right after the break. We'll be back with Lena Wooten.
Scripture and modern-day research attests to this truth. When one generation commits to and engages in the discipleship of another generation, people of all ages know Jesus and become more like him. This commitment requires us to say goodbye to the myopic focus on the next generation and instead broaden our view to every generation. Every generation. Moms, dads, grandmas and grandpas, aunts and uncles, kindergartners and middle school students, college freshmen and newlyweds, each one awakened to Jesus Christ and living out a vibrant faith with one another. We invite you to adopt this focus at the D6 Conference, a family ministry event built on the Deuteronomy 6 philosophy of generational discipleship. You will experience 3 days of strategy, resources, and action steps to help move your church forward together. Discover what's in store at d6conference.com.
Jeremy, you and Lena have been talking in this interview, and you're about to continue in a moment when we come back. But I wanted to throw in, this brand new book that we just released that's so practical called Family Faith Talks that allows what you and Lena are discussing about ways to keep that connection alive in the home, the fun, creative ways that we can keep relationships alive and on the right path. Family Faith Talks is a book that has questions for the parent to ask the kids and questions the kids can ask the parent. And we know relationships are built on questions. We ask, we probe, we explore, we talk, we coach in that moment. And this book is just a simple tool that you can leave in the car for your kids to open it up and read those questions while you're driving. Leave it by the dinner table. Maybe you can start that out when you begin to eat, or, maybe you want to mute the TV on a commercial break and ask a question in the evening while you're watching TV.
It sounds like a great resource. They can grab it at d6family.com. And let's get back to the interview with Lena. Well, hey, everybody, welcome back. And Lena, before we left, I talked about the fact that there are amazing resources coming out. It's your job to get us all pumped. Said earlier, you're the hype lady of D6. Get us hyped. What new stuff is out there? What's going on? Come on.
So a couple of things just off the top of my head, okay? One is the new D6 Family app. It's a free app that you download, and then within that app, you're going to have all kinds of fun stuff to do as a family. My favorite feature is probably the family fun questions. So whenever we go on family vacations and we're in the car for a long time, we love to get to know each other even better. So ask these fun questions as a family, or you can just sit around the dinner table. I literally pull them out at dinner and say, okay, next question, and I'll ask my kids these questions. And so it's just a fun way to get their minds working and get to connect a little bit more.
So this app is for parents.
The app is for parents. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, it's a parenting app. It's got a list of family fun night ideas that you can do at home as a family. Our splinks are all uploaded in there. Our splinks are like spiritual links that you can do with your kids. It's an email that gets emailed out every Tuesday, but it's also available inside of the app. We have some D6 foundational talks that are in the app. So we've taken some of our key leaders that have done talks at the D6 conference, and those are all available in the app. So you need to download the D6 Family app.
And it sounds like this is free?
Absolutely free.
Wow, this is free, and ministers can take this and pass it on.
Absolutely.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, you're doing a good job. I'm excited.
Yeah, I know. I'm super excited, too.
I actually didn't know about that, so I'm super happy. This is fun. Tell me more.
It's been a dream to have this app, and so I sat with Lauren, who has been my marketing assistant, and I said, I want to do this app. And so she and I really hammered it out, got with our design team, and Case, and it's also my department. And we built this app, and we did it, and I'm very excited about it.
I'm proud of it, as you should be.
Well, at D6, we talk a lot about 1/168. So parents have an hour, or ministry leaders have an hour in church out of 168 in a week. So what are you doing with the other 168? And I really began to think about that, like when you walk along the road, when you lie down, when you get up, what's a resource we could put in parents' hands? Everybody has a cell phone. Everybody has a cell phone, and parents are on the cell phones all the time. So why not use that for the good of them to connect with their kids?
Perfect.
Meet them where they're at. Fish where the fish are.
What else do you have?
Okay, thanks for asking. We have a brand new book. By the time this podcast airs, it might not be brand new, but it's called Recalibrate.
And you're debuting it here we're live at the conference.
Oh, yeah.
If you hear background noise, we're here live at the conference, and so you're debuting it here at the conference.
We are debuting it here at the D6 conference, and what we have done is taking key leaders in family ministry, some of the leading voices in family ministry, and we've asked them each to write a chapter in this book, and it focus on different aspects of family ministry. We've got Tammy Daughtry, Brian Haynes, Dr. Ron Hunter, Timothy Paul Jones, Scott Kerdersha, Joanne Miller, Jimmy Meyer, Philip Nation, Jim Putman, Lydia Randall, Richard Ross, Jay Strother, Scott Taransky, Jim Weidman, and Christopher Yuan.
That's like an all-star
D6 lineup. It is an all-star. If you were to line up all these people and get all their years and years and years of college, put them all together, I mean, it's probably 100 years worth of ministry combined or more.
Man.
Okay. So, yeah, it's all in this book. It's called Recalibrate, and that is actually coming out this week. So,
perfect.
At the conference.
At the conference. And if you're listening to this, it's probably already out. They can go grab it.
Go to d6family.com, go to the store or Amazon, and it will be there.
Perfect. Now, you're not just a hype lady. There's more to you. We've talked about you as a mom.
Yep.
Talked about you as a hype lady, but you got more to you. You're here you're actually teaching a seminar.
Yes.
And the kind of the theme of the seminar is fun ways to connect connect families with each other and to the church.
Yes.
I'm sure it's got a really cool name, but that's kind of the description of it.
Yes.
So tell me more about that. We want to hear. We want to kind of steal some from your seminar.
Yeah, I would love it. That's why I'm doing this, because I want people to know some of the fun ways that they can get their parents involved in the church, and not just parents, but grandparents, aunts, and uncles. And so one of the things that Josh and I did at a church we were just recently a part of is we implemented family ministry. And one of the things we began to do was create family ministry events. So let's bring the parents outside of the hour. That, because mostly parents will come, they'll drop their kids off, they'll go, we'll put resources in their hands to help them throughout the week. But for Josh and I to actually get to connect with them and let the other church members connect and have fun at family, we create these family fun events. One of the things we did is a gingerbread house night. And so we just get people to donate those little cartons of milk that are empty, by the way. We wash them out. We get a bunch of icing. We throw it on the table, different colors of icing, different kinds of candy pieces. And we let the kids decorate these gingerbread houses as a family. And we do charge $5 for the family, and that's really to cover the cost of the pizza that we provide. So they come there, they eat pizza, they gather around this table that's full of all kinds of fun, colorful candies. And I'm telling you, we had probably 600-700 people show up to this event. We were having to pull out more chairs. And so that has really, really grown. It's something easy you can do. Trunk or treat, that's a big thing for churches to do. We did one. We had people in our church just decorate their cars. We had a thing called Scarioke, so we brought in a karaoke machine called Scarioke just to kind of be fun and let the kids sing, and it kind of runs itself. I mean, you set it all up, and then families are there having fun. We're going to be doing a thing called the Insta Hunt, so it's all on Instagram. It's like a scavenger hunt, but it's on Instagram.
Ooh, tell us more. Tell me, get into the details of that, because I think there's somebody listening who might want to do that.
So after church on Sunday, what we did was we handed out this scavenger hunt, and it'll say things like, take a video of you and your family reenacting a scene from a funny movie, and or a famous movie. We'll do something like take a picture of an object where you write your family's last name, and so people were writing it in sticks or spaghetti noodles or whatever. But they're posting them on Instagram, and they're putting the hashtag, whatever church hashtag you want to use. Ours was like hashtag ILPC Insta Hunt or something, whatever you want it to be. So that does a couple of things. One, these families are having fun, but also from a marketing perspective, you're getting your church's name out there. And people are like, what are these people doing at this church? I've been seeing Instagrams lit up with all this family fun stuff. And so we did that, and everything's kind of a point system. You can make it up however you want. And then at the end of the evening, that Sunday night, we brought them all under our pavilion, and we had ice cream. We had homemade ice cream. People in the church make homemade ice cream. They come together. We were showing the pictures up on a screen, like following the hashtags. And so we had one dad come up to us and say, I just want to say thank you. I have not had this much fun with my son, and I don't know when. Because he's had teenage sons, so things like that, anything that will connect the parents to get them having fun with their kids. Some parents don't know how to have fun with their kids, and so we try to create things like that.
And instead of fighting this screen time, we're
embracing it. Listen,
leveraging it.
Listen, yes, with the app and the family fun stuff. So you have to
love that.
You have to fish where the fish are. They're there, and so even though at dinner time, or when we're in restaurants, we try to discourage, like, hey, let's have some FaceTime. But listen, we all know that everybody loves their cell phones. I have mine in my lap. It's ridiculous.
So I know. Look. We're not too far off in age. You're totally doing the video scavenger hunt from the back in the day, right?
Yes.
I remember those.
Man,
I've got some
scavenger hunts. That's right. You just updated it a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. Insta
Hunt.
Insta Hunt.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right. Well, what else you got?
Yeah. So those are just some of the big events we've done. We've done Breakfast with Santa. We have done Family Olympics. We've done family movie nights where we just bring them all in the gym if it's raining, or you can do movies under the stars. We've done family campouts on a Saturday night at our church. So if you've got a camper or a tent, let's come on the churchyard and everybody hang out, and we'll grill some hot dogs. And the families sleep Saturday night at the church, and then Sunday morning we all get up, have breakfast, and we walk into the church building smelling like a campfire.
Wow.
But it's been fun. So
Hey.
those are some of the things we've done.
There's no way, if y'all just listen to that you didn't pull at least one idea that you haven't tried yet with families. So I hope that's helpful to you. Okay, now one last question.
Sure.
Because I've gotten to kind of watch for years now. I will always come by your office on our way to do podcast recording, and you've got this big whiteboard.
Yes.
And I always kind of just feel a little sad for you.
Oh, my goodness.
Because your whiteboard is always full of all these projects and
Yes,
things that
it
you're
is.
managing. You're
It
managing a
is.
lot.
Yeah.
And so when I think about it, I wanted to make sure we got into this with you for the ministers, because they're managing a lot too. They've got events, weekly programs, parents, recruiting,
Volunteers,
all the different things going
scheduling,
on.
yep.
So can you give some tips about how you manage all of your projects
Sure.
to them? Because I think that could be helpful.
Sure. And so, yes, Jeremy has seen my big whiteboard. It's probably 20 feet. I mean, it's huge.
It's
It is
huge.
a big
It's a whole wall.
whiteboard. And
It's
so,
usually full.
Yes. And so what I've done on my whiteboard is I've got it listed by products that I'm working on at D6. And so we've got the D6 conference, the D6 curriculum. In a minister's world, they could do family ministry, children's ministry, youth ministry, whatever it is that they've got going on, fall festival, whatever project it is. And then across the top, I've got the months of the year scheduled out. So December, January, February, March, April, May, and all the way through across the top. And what I do, it's like a timeline. And so if I'm a church leader and I'm working on a fall festival, I know that probably by August I need to go ahead and order all my inflatables. And so I'd write order inflatables under August. And so you're creating like a timeline, a visual timeline. I'm a creative person, so my brain is super scattered all the time. I'm a dreamer. And so I have to have that timeline in front of me.
Knowing yourself.
Knowing
knowing your
myself.
personality,
and surround yourself with organized people. At our church, for instance, we've got a lady. Her name is Sandra, and she is so organized. And so we said, Sandra, will you please help us with the schedule? Help us with scheduling. So we go into Planning Center. We use Planning Center, and we schedule our volunteers, and she is on top of it. And since she started doing that a couple years ago, we have had zero problems. So find key leaders that have better gifts than you do and identify them and celebrate that.
Well,
It's a good
shout
thing.
out to Sandra, wherever you are
Yes,
today.
Sandra
We love you.
Eversole. You are
Sandra,
amazing.
and all of us creative type folks, we all
Yes,
have a
we
Sandra.
need a Sandra.
Everybody needs to say thank you to the Sandra in your life. And thank you to you,
Yes,
Lena, for
thank
being
you
with us. This
so
was
much.
fabulous. I
Love it.
appreciate it. If you guys want to check out all the things that Lena's been talking about as far as the resources, you can go to d6family.com. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you guys listening.
Always awesome.
Our thanks go to Lena Wooten. Thank you so much for being with us yet again on the podcast. We appreciate you so much.
And for making my creative list.
And hey, congratulations for making the creative list. Thank you guys for being with us. Thanks for listening all the way through. Next week, we are going to have just a friend of the podcast and of D6, Dr. Richard Ross will be with us. You guys will enjoy that. But until then, we hope you have a great week of ministry.
You've been listening to the D6 Podcast. You can learn more about D6 at d6family.com.